This is Action and Ambition, the show that takes you all over the world to share interviews with the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their backstory, get the most important lessons they've learned on their road to success, and hear exclusive tips on how to implement their success in your own life. Action and Ambition is brought to you by Entrepreneur Magazine and your host, Andrew Metal.
Welcome to the Action and Ambition podcast. I'm your host today, Chase Geiser, and with us we have a very special guest, J Bartlett of Different Consulting. We're very excited to have him on the show. He is the CEO of Different Consulting, an agency that helps brands grow through their unconventional marketing tactics and approach. He firmly believes that our greatest gift is becoming the environment and embodiment of change, and strives to create a better world with other individuals or organizations that share that same belief. It's nice to have you on the show today. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you, Chase.
Absolutely. So where does this story begin for you? How did you first start going down this path?
So I went to Manhattan College to play baseball. Actually, I went there on a D1 baseball scholarship.
Wow.
And then after my freshman year, I tore my rotator cuff, my shoulder.
I'm sorry.
So I kind of had to figure out, do I want to have surgery or kind of make a move with life, And so I settled on be as creative as possible. And so I started taking pictures, modeling, designing shoes. And that led me just to learn a lot about just how e-commerce works and everything like that. And so I started my company my sophomore year of college, and we got our first client. We got them to build a website after I had built a couple websites for my own company, just for myself, and it's been up from there.
Wow. So tell me about how you got that first client.
Yeah, so it was a really popular bar in New York called The Last Stop. And it was around the corner from our college. And so the way that it really started was I built an e-commerce store, differentny.com. And then I realized with all these skills to build this store, to figure out how to run traffic to this store, photography, videography, to promote it, social media, I realized, I can sell this skill set that I do for myself and do it for other people. And so from there, Different just became two branches. And so I just went down in person, and I made a presentation deck. I did a little bit of research beforehand, and I saw that they didn't have a website. So I just went down there and I showed them what I had made for Different. And I said, you guys don't have a website. Gave them a number, soft number to start. And then, they agreed. Came back the next week to sign paperwork. We had a contract and collect the check. So that was cool.
That's awesome, man. It's the best feeling in the world when you close your first client with a new business, because it's the proof of concept, and it's like a signal that, hey, you're not crazy. This actually does make sense, right?
Yeah, facts.
So what year was that then when you had your first client?
That was 2019.
Oh, okay. So this was early, right before the pandemic, huh?
No, it was a little bit more before that. It was a year before the pandemic. So it was maybe March, April 2019. Gotcha.
And so how did the pandemic impact your business when it did hit in 2020?
It was a really interesting time, because my company I'd placed in the business school's competition for investment called the Innovation Challenge. And we got sent home, and everything got canceled for COVID, literally 32 hours before I thought, we were going to win a couple $1,000.
Oh.
And so, but when we went home, the entire world changed the way they did business, in the sense that Zoom meetings became the norm. There were no more offices. And so I started like really building out my LinkedIn and just like figured out how to like master digital meetings, digital business. And so yeah, I think COVID kind of gave us a leg up because we weren't expected to have an office or anything. And I started reaching out and making connections with people at Nike and Adidas and Yeezy and Google. And I would just talk to them. Like I would message them on LinkedIn and I would set up a meeting on Zoom, and I just started to build out my network that way. And so for like 6 to 8 months, when everything was just like shut down, that's what I was doing. But it's turned around now, that the relationships that we built through that time and just that whole strategy of like kind of how to connect with people, um, it's been only success. And COVID kind of, I think, transformed everybody else's mindset to be more willing to change and like hear new ideas, more more of an or companies I think embrace the internet and just like needing to have a forward facing brand, more thinking about just the morals of what the company represents, what the business represents. It has to be more than just being a product nowadays. I think like people want to feel like they have an attachment. So yeah, there's all like that whole kind of psychological change and whirlwind of how we adapted to COVID. It just kind of worked in our benefit in building different.
So one of the things that's emphasized in the description that I read when we started was how you believe in sort of taking new and different, for lack of a better term. I mean, that's kind of the point, but a different approach to marketing, right? So what are some things that you have done either for yourself or with clients that you feel are really novel in the space compared to what other sort of brand consulting or marketing agencies may have done?
So something that really kind of turned the corner for us was understanding how to value ourselves. And I learned this from the future and Chris Do. Shout out Chris Do. And it's just value-based pricing. The way now that we offer our services, like instead of just saying, okay, somebody wants a website, or they need a deck, or they want brand strategy, here's a flat number. We try to think about, like, really interview them and ask them ideally, like, what is the outcome? And so then they'll say, well, if ideally we work together, and we push for numbers, like how much more money do you think the business is going to make if we execute on this? And then we say in return to that, okay, what percentage am I accountable for this increase? So somebody might, for example, they might say they don't have a good e-commerce flow, but if you create a marketing scheme and build a website and everything, then we stand to make another, say, $50,000. And so then I say, okay, what percentage am I responsible for that? They'll be like, I don't know, 30%, 50%. And so I'll multiply 30% by 50K. And I'll say, this is the value that we're creating. And so all of our pricing,
I love that,
then becomes custom, because like we're building something custom for every client, and everybody's in like a different financial space, but that model works whether you think that your budget is $100 and you're going to make 50 more, or your budget is $100,000 and you're going to make 5 million more. And then it just comes down to, again, like working with people that align with our vision and values.
So what's something that you know now that you wish you would have known when you started the business?
That's a good question.
It always throws people for a loop.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I've been doing the same thing like for so long, and then I just see more results come out of the consistency. What did I learn? Probably how to use taxes and debt to my benefit. That's a huge one, actually. A lot of people are like scared because of debt and they don't understand how like EBIT works. And so, yeah, once I really learned that tax is just a game that the government plays to incentivize private social well-being. And then so I said, okay, we can actually like play this game to our advantage, like not pay tax, but for the good of society. And like everybody gets mad at like Jeff Bezos for not paying tax, and they don't understand the game. Like the whole point is like if you provide energy, you provide jobs, you provide food, you go to
Right.
space, and you enhance everything else for the public, that you get a tax break. So yeah,
Right.
understanding that, and then understanding that debt is leverage and not necessarily a bad thing. Those are two good lessons.
So did you always kind of know that you were going to be sort of a business leader? I mean, I know that you went to college on a baseball scholarship, but did you know that like eventually, down the road you wanted to be CEO?
Yeah, kind of. I always just, even with baseball, my objective was to be the best, to be the greatest of all time, the best
Yeah.
version of myself. That was just always in me. And then even when I was playing baseball, I had thought of like long term, like after I would stop playing the sport or whatever, I would want to like own a company. And when I was in school, I said earlier that my goal was just to be as creative as possible. I started seeing the things that I was making, and somebody that considered themselves a creative genius like Kanye West,
Mm-hmm.
his fatal flaw was, I think, that he didn't start Yeezy at college dropout. He was so angry for so many years. Sway doesn't have the answers and all of that because he didn't own what he was trying to do. He wanted Nike
Right.
to give him royalties. He wanted to partner with Adidas and Balenciaga, but he didn't have an EIN and an LLC. And so they just looked at him like a rapper. And like
Mm.
once he figured that out, everything now, like how much is Yeezy worth? Like it's a unicorn company. And so
Right.
I took that same mindset and I said, well, I won't make that mistake. I won't waste my youth. And I started my company as pretty much as early as I could. Like I was like 19, 20.
So did you end up graduating from college, or did you just end up taking off with different?
Yeah, I graduated. But I can say college is, it sucks and it's not worth anybody's money, time, or investment unless you're going to an Ivy League school. That's just a fact. Don't go to
Mm.
college. Um, it was cool for me just because I was in New York. And so I just fed off the environment that I was in. I would like go to the parks, try to meet as many people, just go into the city all the time. And so that's what was cool about it. Also, like with COVID, that made everything be online.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of made like junior, senior year like much easier and allowed me to kind of be more mobile. Like I could just be wherever and take class online with my laptop. So
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I about half the people I interview are like PhDs, and the other half are dropouts. It
right.
seems like, and so it's interesting to see because, like, some entrepreneurs swear by it, and they're like, "Oh, my MBA at Vanderbilt is the reason that I'm successful," and others are like, "Oh, if I would have stayed in college, then I never would have made $10 million this year," right? And so it's like it's good. It's really interesting to hear that, and I've kind of landed on like a similar conclusion to you, where I think that going to college makes sense if you can afford it. But if you're gonna get like $250,000 in debt going to college, just whatever school, and you're gonna blow off 4 years of your life, then like it's just so overpriced, man.
I think the real reason why it doesn't make any sense anymore is because like if I'm hiring somebody, like I had interns when I was a student in college, and I had somebody that was like in my same major that like went to my school that was a year older, and they were an intern. And I'm telling like the dean of the business school, I'm like, yo, like you're not giving people the skills to be successful. They just graduated and
This
they can't
intern
even handle
sucks.
the stuff that I'm doing at my company, and I'm like 20. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And so yeah, like that's the type of stuff. That's why I say like school is not worth it. Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like when I graduated from college, I was fortunate enough to get a job that had like a lot of learning opportunity. So I ended up being really good. But when I started, I was just an idiot, you know, and it's like, man,
Yeah,
I've been
you
going
don't
to
know
school for 4 years.
anything when you leave school. You're just
I
like,
graduated with
oh,
honors. I did all these awesome internships, and like, I don't even know, like, I don't know anything about how to do anything.
you know,
Right?
the school, because I said I really did talk to like the dean of the school about it. I did like a whole independent study my senior year on like higher education, and they told me the reason why the slides decks are dated 2004 is because we want to teach the principles. And that you can learn the softwares and this whatever that changes, but the principles don't change. And I said, that's cap. Give me both at least. I'm paying you 30K. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. So what you're saying is I should just get an education on YouTube.
100%. No, actually, you can learn way more than what you could think to even scratch in business school in 4 years on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everything is on YouTube.
Well, and the thing that's crazy about it is that there's, in my opinion, there are 2 or 3 advantages of college, right? I would say that one of the advantages of college is that you actually get feedback on the work that you do. If you have like cool professors, and you're writing papers or whatever, you can get good feedback. That's one advantage. The second advantage is if you do it right, you basically have 4 years where you can like risk-free do anything, start a business, meet anyone, like, you know what I mean? You're not worried about like bills.
It's a security blanket for sure.
It's a security blanket.
It's social security.
Yeah. And then like the third thing is, like you said, like if you go to an Ivy League school, then you are going to network with people who are like future senators, right? So that's kind of cool.
Actually, it's worth it at the Ivy League level,
right?
But rarely underneath that.
But if you're not like maximizing those 3 things, then like you might as well just not be in college.
But you can do that without, like, the stuff that you just said was so valuable. You can do without the school. Like,
sure.
You can, and here's a prime example. Like one of my best friends in school, his name is Lucas. He's from Germany. He played soccer, and he ended up like he had to go back to Germany, and he didn't finish his like American business degree, right? And so that doesn't matter. Like not having a degree doesn't matter at all, because then we bring Lucas in as a partner and we teach him about our strategy with LinkedIn. And now he's connected with the vice president of the NBA and global design at Spotify and Adidas Original footwear. And so no one cares if or when you went to school, if you know the vice president of the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And the funny thing is too, I've applied for a million jobs and stuff just since I graduated. I work for myself now and I have since 2016. But when I was graduating in 2014, I applied for a bunch of jobs. Not one of them asked for my transcript. The only place that asked for my transcript was my grad school applications.
Seriously, if I was hiring somebody too, the thing is that like anybody that's actually like at the top or owns a company wants other entrepreneurial minded people. They want people that like can take lead and you don't have to micromanage, and that they can lead other people, and that they think about ideas in like the biggest sense. Like those are the type of employees that are ideal, and they're really just like entrepreneur at heart. So I don't even really understand why we try to incentivize school to just like make these factory workers. It's not useful to society even.
Well, I think a big reason that everyone goes to college is because their parents don't want to tell their neighbors that their kid's a construction worker. It's like a lot of it, it's just parent pride. Like, oh, my kid goes to Vanderbilt or my kid goes to Yale. And it's just bullshit. It's robbed kids of their futures and innovation and stuff, I think, and put a lot of people in debt that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
But so what's next for Different, man? What do you have planned for the next 36 months? Where do you want your company to be in the next, year or 3?
I think we're about to take off socially. I just got back from doing a showroom at Paris Fashion Week.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, man. It was my first time out the country, and it was really inspiring, actually, just to be in Paris of all places. We got to see the art in the museums there, and brought a lot back with us. But when we were over there, it was mainly like for business. We connected with some buyers. And so now I just created a new line of clothes that has reflective embroidery as like the
Cool.
fun twist. Yeah. I tried to be really purposeful with the placements, like well-placed tattoos. I left the chest mostly blank because it's like, you know what I mean, rich people don't like to have a whole bunch of graphics going on. And yeah, like I said, we connected with some buyers in Paris. Also, we made a eau de parfum with an atelier called Pandora. So now we have a fragrance of the brand and this new clothing line, which is called Avant Garde on differentny.com. And we're going to try to get these into retail places. So we want to sell them in places like Kith and Essence. And yeah, on the clothing side, I think that will help also like build up everything that we do just in our internal brand, like the content that we produce. We have a podcast as well. And we've interviewed, you know, people, all the people I mentioned, like on LinkedIn, at Nike, Google, Spotify, etc. And yeah, I think increasing the awareness is what's just gonna kind of like catapult the company.
So I'm always impressed by anyone in the marketing space who is able to successfully launch any form of apparel because it's such a saturated place. Everybody thinks that they're like the next thing in fashion design. And there's like just a million people vying for the apparel market. So how have you been able to do it so that you're involved in things like Paris Fashion Week? Like, is it just a matter of making cooler products? Because I was just hearing you talk about that, I was very impressed that you were able to pull it off, because I've run a million apparel campaigns for a million clients, and it's just a really challenging space to make money.
No, it's competitive for sure. I think really the way that I structured the company, different consulting and us providing B2B value, is really what cash flows different and why in our brand. And we do it that way because then we can not compromise on anything with our brand. We don't have to compromise on the morals or the message or the timing of anything to make a dollar, because the primary cash flow is B2B, different consulting. And then in this particular line, I think that like I made some mentors in the fashion space. I showed it to the former head of Nike basketball, Craig Lyon. I showed it to a mentor who designed for Aimé Leon Dore, spring summer 2021, John Taylor. And he was the one that told me to take it to Kith and to take it to Paris. And I think because I actually, like, one of the lines that's really popular is Essentials by Fear God and Jerry Lorenzo. And I have a couple pieces, and obviously it's super popular. I think people love it because of the reflective, just the small reflective fits. It wasn't like the whole garment just glowed all the time, but it was like something that was like a subtle kind of nice element that elevated basics, because they're just like hoodies and sweatshirts and stuff like that. So the problem I saw with it was when you washed them, though, it was a screen print. The reflective was a screen print, and so it wasn't durable, and it would peel off and whatever. And so I figured out that I could do reflective embroidery, which I've actually never seen anywhere ever. So like
Yeah, I haven't seen that. That's awesome.
making something that's like actually unique is what I think is giving us like traction. And then also because we have like, we get a lot of respect because of the business background. We have VC companies as clients. And so a fashion retailer takes us a whole lot more serious as a business, like when it comes down to like trying to lay contract terms or even just setting up meetings and stuff like that, than just somebody that makes clothes, I feel like.
Yeah, that makes sense. So where can people find you and follow you or do business with you?
So differentconsulting.com, DYFRENT consulting.com. You can go on there and on the main page, book a time on Calendly to chat with us. You can see our work and our projects there. And that can also, you can navigate to the store through that site, and the store has a separate URL, differentny.com. Differentny.com is where we have all of our internal brand stuff, all our podcasts, the clothes, and everything like that. We sell obviously like our own line, but we also sell artwork, NFTs, and like a hand-picked assortment of other brands that's curated, just stuff that we really like. Differentny.com, at different on Instagram, at different on YouTube, at different TV on TikTok. We're everywhere. I mean, you can really support in a million ways. It's like we have content you can watch and like that for free. We have clothes that are make you look cool. You know what I'm saying? Then we have the business stuff. If you have an idea that you want to get off the ground, we know how to do it A to Z. And the whole thing, I think, is all companies are businesses, but a lot of them lack brand. And that's where we come in.
Fascinating, man. Well, it was an honor and a pleasure to have you on the Action and Ambition podcast. I hope that you'll come back and join us after some more time passes and let us know how things are continuing to grow.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Take care. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Action and Ambition with your host, Andrew Metal. Please leave a review and subscribe, and go to andrewmetal.com for all the exclusive lessons, behind the scenes footage, and video content of the show. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Action and Ambition, and we'll see you on the next episode.